Hi everyone, I'm Jonathan Budd, the Assistant Superintendent of the Trumbull Public Schools, and I'm pleased to have you join us today for a conversation on Wednesday, March 18th about distance learning in the Trumbull Public Schools at this time of school closure. I'll be joined this morning by Christina Heffley, our Director of Digital Learning. And in this conversation, we will cover some of the key points today about distance learning and some other measures taken by the Trumbull Public Schools at this time. We intend to do a follow-up broadcast on Friday, March 20th, with an update at that time. But the information you're receiving is current as of noon on Wednesday, March 18th. I want to now turn our program over to Christina, who's going to begin our question and answer format, which will allow us to get the most thorough information to you at this time.
Good morning, Jonathan. How are you?
I'm great, Christina.
I have a couple of questions that we'd like to ask you to sort of help educate our community about sort of what the plans are at Trumbull Public Schools. What are the goals of distance learning, and how do they differ from the goals of a typical education?
It's a good question, Christina, and it's one that we've received many times in the past few days. It's important to remember that distance learning is necessary in a situation such as the one that we're in now. Distance learning cannot replicate what happens in our classroom every day. There are person-to-person interactions between children and between adults and children that are not possible when a child is learning at home. So the goals change a little bit when we talk about distance learning, but essentially we're talking in distance learning about the ability for students to maintain continuity of educational experience. This is an opportunity for them to stay up to date by reinforcing key skills they already learned and by moving into new content and new skills. We'll get in a little bit later to how this might look different based on grade level, but distance learning will maximize students' continuity of educational experience, and we're really pleased about the opportunity that Trumbull Public Schools teachers and administrators have to implement it for all children in Trumbull.
Great, thank you. Does my student need to be in front of a computer for 6.5 hours every day?
No, that's a great question we've gotten in the past 24 hours based on the communication we received or we sent out to district families last night. We've provided you, based on grade level, the times when teachers, in essence, are available to answer questions and such. But absolutely, there is no expectation that a student participate in more than 4 hours of learning per day. From the state of Connecticut's perspective, these are the equivalent of legal days of school. So if you think about it from that perspective, a student is participating in about 4 hours of learning, but they don't have to be 4 hours of continuous learning. They certainly don't have to be 4 hours of continuous learning between the hours we published. It's just the case that a student will need to be engaged in some amount of learning, not to exceed 4 hours every single day. The hours that we've published are the hours when teachers would typically be available for conversation, but I know we have a future question coming up about what that might look like.
Do I have to monitor or help my child do their work?
So this is an important consideration because families are in a variety of circumstances. We have some parents who are able to be home with their children and support them in the learning. We have other parents who are trying to telecommute and also support their child's education. We have families where children are being taken care of by caregivers or are in child care. And as our teachers are preparing the learning opportunities by grade level, they are thinking of all types of learners. Typically, the younger the student, the more the student is going to have to be guided and supported and maybe even motivated in the learning, just like if you had any typical work that the student was going to do, whether it would be reading a book or engaging in some math kind of activities. But it's important to know there is not an expectation that parents are the active teachers of the material. Teachers are developing the learning opportunities with the expectation that students should be able to engage with them based on what's given from the teacher, and also with the opportunity to email questions to the teacher as the days develop.
Okay. And what are the grade level expectations for students?
So I'll spend a little time on this because based on the best research, we have developed grade level expectations for what would be the most typical learning opportunities. I first want to say that the special opportunities for our pre-K students and for our students in our elite program, which is for students ages 18 to 21 transitioning out of high school, those will be announced later today based on conversations of the Pupil Personnel Services Department today. But I will cover our students grades 9 to 12 in this conversation. So at the grade K2 level, your classroom teachers are preparing emails that will go out every day to parents of students in the class to highlight key learning that can be done in literacy, in math, and in science. And literacy, the first one, encompasses reading, writing, and phonics development, learning how to read. In general, the work K2 should be able to be accomplished offline. The teachers will be emailing a morning message to parents of students in their classes, and then the students should be able to proceed from that point forward. Now, between 8:30 and 3 o'clock daily, teachers are making themselves available to answer particular questions, to provide more feedback to students. We will talk about later what would be the reasonable expectation for parent feedback from teachers, but my point is that at the K2 level, the activities are offline and focused on literacy, math, and science. At the grade 3 to 5 level, literacy, math, and science are still the focus areas, but at those grade levels, teachers have training, as do students, in Google Classroom, which I know you'll talk about a little bit later, Christina. And so some more of the work for grades 3 and 5 might be online for kids. Again, though, there will be some offline activities, I'm sure. Teachers at this grade level, again, between 8:30 and 3 o'clock daily, are engaged in developing activities, assessing work, and communicating with parents at this grade level. I want to say at the K5 level, we have teams of the music, art, and physical education teachers coming up with activities that will be across all 6 schools. Those will supplement the key activities in literacy, math, and science, but I think having worked with those teachers this morning to start developing the activities, parents and families and kids will really find these engaging and a nice complement to what we might call the more academic work of the K5 environment. At the middle school level, teachers will be working from 8 o'clock to 2:30 each day. They will also use the Google Classroom platform, and students can expect to see activities posted from all the classes they would typically be in during the day. And again, the expectation is that there is balance, and principals are working with this on teachers. Again, it's a rough 4-hour maximum per day, but it doesn't have to be done continuously, and students will be able to choose the order in which they approach subjects, etc. In other words, students do not all have to be online at the same time to engage in something. At the middle school and then also at the high school level, which I'll turn to next, the activities would be a mixture of online and offline work, but probably more online than offline at some of those grade levels. At the high school level, again, Google Classroom will be used, and instructional activities will be posted for all students. Following the students' typical schedule, all teachers will be developing appropriate activities, and they're working on this right now and tomorrow. And in general, teachers will be providing these emails or these activities by the end of this week, with full implementation by all teachers by early next week. Does that answer your question?
It does.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. What about students with special needs or special accommodations for learning? How will they be handled?
So the first answer is a more general one. We first are providing the activities at the level of the typical student in each classroom, but it is important for us always to differentiate for different types of learners. So I would encourage parents and students of when they're older at the student level to reach out to their teacher proactively if they feel that they're not understanding understanding something, they need more support, etc. Because that's how the teacher is going to be able to provide the more differentiated support. Now, there's a part of your question that is more specific, referencing students with special needs, students who get special education services, students with accommodations for Section 504 plans, even our English language learner population. Details about these particular segments of our population will be coming in a separate communication from our office to parents and guardians tonight, March 18th, and that will be posted on the website. There is a wide breadth of students in the categories I mentioned, and I want to continue to emphasize that parents can reach out not just to my office, but also to counselors, case managers, or principals with particular concerns about implementation of activities for their particular children.
Great. Another question, can I call my child's teacher for extra help?
The primary means, and for many people the exclusive means of communication, is going to be electronic, email. And at the high school level and at the middle school level, we would first encourage student email with the teacher. At the K-5 level, more likely parent-guardian email is going to be appropriate. It will be the teacher's discretion in every case whether to initiate or respond via telephone to parents, but appreciating that teachers are working in their own homes or in other environments, but not in our school buildings, electronic communication will be primary.
Great. And what is the expectation for teachers in terms of returning student and parent emails?
This is a good question. I would suggest that a parent, as I have suggested, reach out to a teacher first with any concerns about the learning activities for a student in that class or in that course at the middle or high school. But keeping in mind that our teachers are going to be responding in some cases at the middle and high school level to several dozen parents or students who might have concerns, we will not be able to expect in this situation immediate feedback to email inquiries. In general, we ask teachers to respond to parents and guardians within 24 hours of receiving an inquiry. And from my perspective, it might help if parents and guardians can focus on the most pressing issues in any particular email, and that will allow our teachers to be able to respond to everybody in a reasonable way, given the magnitude of this task for them as well.
My child left materials back in the school. How can we get them?
This is an important question and one that we've been grappling with. As I think everybody understands, the issues with the coronavirus are rapidly evolving. And actually, although we are in a corner of Trumbull High School doing this broadcast, everything else in the Trumbull Public Schools is shut down. And we'll talk a little bit later about access at the central office level for parents and guardians with questions. But to both our staff, to parents, to visitors, and to students, there is not building access. One primary reason for that is that our teams of custodians have thoroughly cleaned and sanitized the buildings by the professional standards they've been asked to based on this virus. And with limited supplies, at this point, they are finishing that task for every single school, including the one we're in, by this Friday. But when we introduce somebody new into that environment, the surfaces, the rooms, the hallways would all have to be cleaned and sanitized again, and we can't possibly do that. The second thing is that, the second reason for the decision is that we've been specifically asked by the commissioner to limit person-to-person contact. And if we introduce anybody into the environment, we have to have security and custodial personnel there, as I've described, and we are putting people into contact who may unfortunately or unwillingly be carriers of the coronavirus. We can't have that in the schools. So the short answer to your question is materials left back in the school will not be able to be retrieved. But we, in terms of learning materials like a textbook that I might have left in my locker, we have plans for that. Teachers have been asked, and department chairs and team leaders, to think about alternative ways that we can put texts online for kids. In some cases, we will be scanning materials, which we're able to do under the circumstances. I would say that if we have a parent guardian who feels there's a very extenuating circumstance in relation to this, I would ask them to contact my office. But truly, we cannot allow people into our buildings, and that's based on consultation with the health department. I will just say that one small exception to that is that we are going to be notifying this evening parents of students who may have musical instruments in the middle or high school band or orchestra rooms of curbside pickup tomorrow, with security personnel retrieving their instruments if they would like. So if you see this broadcast before that email comes out, be on the look for it this evening. And that is a specialized group, and they're rooms that we have not sanitized yet, just for that purpose.
Great. Should we be concerned about upcoming assessments such as Smarter Balanced?
We should not be concerned about upcoming assessments such as Smarter Balanced. I do not have any authority on this from the state, but I would strongly suspect that given the circumstances, the assessment calendar for this year will be heavily modified, and perhaps statewide assessments like Smarter Balanced or our NGSS assessment will be totally canceled this year. As we find out information on that, we will provide it to parents, but we have asked teachers not to stress that kind of preparation in the learning kids are doing now, but to focus on the essential, again, core goals of the curriculum.
How will AP courses be handled at Trumbull High School?
This is another important aspect because we have students in advanced placement courses who have exams scheduled currently for early May and are concerned about those assessments. This is changing on a daily basis. We received word earlier this week from the College Board, which administers AP, that they may very well have assessment dates later this year for students in states where learning has been disrupted. We received word yesterday that they're even thinking about potential administration of exams in the home environment. But we have a wide variety of exams from studio art all the way up to physics. And so as the College Board introduces information to us, we will forward it to teachers and to parents' guardians. Very nicely, though, our high school courses that have an AP exam are also strongly aligned with strong standards for those content areas. So as far as the learning opportunities that are happening, they're again going to be focused during distance learning on the major curriculum goals. And whenever that exam is, our students have the option to participate. It's not mandatory in Trumbull, and we will have them participate to the degree that they feel they want to. I want to say one other thing in that regard. We also have courses at Trumbull High where students receive college credit for concurrent enrollment at the University of Connecticut or at Housatonic Community College. We are working with those institutions, and to the greatest degree we will work to meet their guidelines in this kind of circumstance, as well as Trumbull can provide, what Trumbull can provide, and we will get further information to those students and parents as it's accurate. Right now the situation's evolving so quickly, we have information that's very tentative and subject to change, and it's best for us to give out that information when we know we can rely on it.
Okay. I heard that meals are available. Is this true?
Meals are available. Behind us on the other side of this brick wall is a very, very dedicated team of food service managers from every single one of the Trumbull Public Schools, led by Betty Cinco, our food service manager, and Lori Stolba, the assistant. And based on guidance from the federal government to make sure that emergency food is available for students who may need it at this time, the Trumbull Public Schools received a waiver for the details that I'm going to provide. Any student enrolled in the Trumbull Public Schools, his or her household is eligible for what I'm going to describe. It is not restricted to students who receive free or reduced price meals during the school year. If a family has at least one child who attends the Trumbull Public Schools, that family is entitled to meals for every student age 18 or younger in their household. This would include infants and toddlers, as long as schools are closed Monday through Friday. And under our system, we have curbside pickup here at Trumbull High School. They do not need to make a reservation. They pull up, and for every child age 18 or younger in their household, as long as one child in their household is enrolled in TPS, they are entitled to a lunch for that day and a breakfast for the following day, and we will deliver it at curbside pickup at the front entrance, door 1 of Trumbull High School. And I encourage you to take advantage of this. We had 150 meals served yesterday, and on my way in this morning, they said we're set to exceed that today. And this is a great outreach to all families in the community, and we can be very proud of Betty and her managers coming in and making this happen. All the meals meet the requirements of the USDA, and food preparation meets the sanitation guidelines of both the USDA and the Trumbull Health Department.
And what administrators are available to assist my child and me while school is closed?
Thanks. As in any situation, a parent's first point of contact would be the classroom teacher. And of course, specialist teachers like a counselor or an interventionist as appropriate. If a parent has a concern that goes beyond that group or needs to communicate with individuals beyond that group, all of our building principals are available by email, and they are checking in at the K-5 level with every classroom teacher every day, and at the middle and high school level have divided up departments for contact with every teacher every day. At the central office level, and I'll talk a little bit about this now, this is the one building in the district that we do have open, not to visitors from the public, but because of some essential services that must operate out from there. We'll talk about in a minute our support for technology of students during the school closure. We have a limited staff of technicians available for that purpose. We have, as I said, the food services personnel coming in, and we have other essential behind the scenes personnel. We are working at home as much as possible. Every day in the district, either someone in the superintendent's office or myself is on site. So if you go to the Trumbull Public Schools website and look at the homepage, you will see the contact information to contact the superintendent's information office or myself. And if you do not know where to turn, contact our offices first, and we will either answer your question or direct it to the appropriate person. If you need to see us in person, we will talk about that over a phone call and make ourselves available as necessary.
Great.
That turns to my questions for you. Christina, after I am settled with this distance learning as a parent, how will my child know what assignments to work on?
So as Jonathan mentioned, the K-2 population will be getting an email from their teachers on a regular basis with the assignments and when they're due and the information that they're required to have. In grades 3 through 12, all teachers are using a platform that we're pretty familiar with here in the district called Google Classroom. Students know how to get on, teachers can post assignments, students can submit assignments through that platform, and they respond to a discussion, they can chat with their teacher, they can ask a question, and we're able to use that tool actually with students all throughout the grades from grades 3 through 12.
What if we don't know how to use something like Google Classroom? I understand my child may supposed to be able to use it, but I want to help the child use it, and I don't know how to do it.
Great question. So Trumbull Public Schools is very fortunate to have technology integrators currently in our buildings, as well as library media specialists. So this group of very talented teachers are going to work to put together a weekly newsletter, one for parents and one for staff, which will give our first newsletter that will go out next week. We'll give lots of tips and tricks for parents on how to access Google Classroom. There is a parent guardian feature in Google Classroom, and all you have to do is contact one of your child's teachers, and they can add your email address to the Google Guardian feature, and you will actually get a summary of what's in the Google Classroom. So more information to come via the weekly newsletters. We're excited to be able to provide that service for parents and really just be able to communicate and share with them some of the tips and tools and tricks that we'll be sharing with your students and teachers over the next few weeks.
Now, this may seem obvious, but I may not be with you if my child doesn't have a device to access distance learning. So what about in that case? Or I've had some people call me this morning, well, we have a computer at home, but I need to use it almost full time for telecommuting to my work, so my child really can't do work on it, the same device. So what can we do for those people?
So any parent that needs a device for their child can call Dr. Budd's office at 203-452-4336. We'll take some basic information from you, your child's name, their school, and then within about a 24-hour time period, we'll have a device available for you. When you actually call in, we'll give you the time and place to come pick up the device, and we'll have it all ready for you. We're at this point in time, we're actually distributing one per family. So if you have multiple children in the household, at this point, we're going to limit it to one just to make sure that we can accommodate any of the needs. I will say that we do have a one-to-one program in Trumbull Public Schools. Students in grades 5 through 8 all took their devices home last week before schools closed. So all of those students should have a device available to them already. But any student K-4 or a high school student who doesn't have their own device can simply have the parent call or the student calls. We've even gotten some emails, and we will make sure it gets to our technology services department and a device is prepped and ready for your child.
We have curbside pickup of those devices
Yes, we do.
at Long Hill. What if my child has a device from the Trumbull Public Schools and it breaks while school is closed? Who can fix it?
So, like Dr. Budd mentioned, we have a limited IT support staff on site. All you need to do is contact Dr. Budd's office at 203-452-4336. And I do expect in the next day or two, we'll also have a link from the website where you can actually complete a form and report any damage. Again, we will fix the device or get you likely a new device, a new loaner device available, and you'll pick those up via curbside pickup at Long Hill. Once we get your request, somebody will reach out to you and notify you and let you know what date and time you can pick it up.
Some children, Christina, are trying to start the learning, but there are passwords that seem to be required. And I know there's different kinds of passwords, but in general, what if my child says there needs to be a password and we don't know what it is?
So the most important password that gets them access to lots of information is their Google account password. It actually has, it's their student number at trumbleps.net and then a password the students created. If they forgot that password, the best thing to do is to reach out to their teacher. We also, like I mentioned, have technology integrators available in each of those buildings. They're able to reset passwords online and will send that information to your student. We also have a variety of applications that have passwords that students may have forgotten. Again, their teacher's sort of a good first point of contact, and then the teachers know who they can reach out to in the district to get that password reset or make sure that the student has the information to proceed.
As you know, we're updating the information on the homepage of the website, www.trumbleps.org, at least daily. But what if I have questions as a parent or even as a student that I don't see answered online?
So I suggest you can certainly email Dr. Budd's office. As we do this on Friday, if we get new questions from the audience, we can address those publicly on Friday. We're also really good about getting back to people on sort of what those particular questions are. But if you use your teachers as your point of contact, they have access to lots of resources in their building. So if they don't have the answer, they have somebody in their building that can help them get the answer. So again, use your building resources, use your classroom teachers, and then you can always contact Dr. Budd's office or my office via email is probably the best way, and we'll be happy to answer those questions. And again, the more questions we get from the community, we can actually answer them in a similar forum as today.
There's one thing I want to stress, which is if you as a parent did not receive yesterday an e-blast first in mid-afternoon from Superintendent Iasagna, and then from me about 6:30 or so in the evening. If you did not receive those emails, that means we do not have a correct email address for you on file. And so if you're watching this and need to provide an updated email address, I would urge that you do that as soon as possible, because that email address is going to be used by us, by your school, and by teachers to communicate as school is closed. You may call my office at 203-452-4336. You may email me at jbudd@trumbleps.org, but that's essential if you did not get that email yesterday that you reach out to provide it to us. In closing, I want to give many, many thanks to Christina Heffley, who with her team has really stepped up on very short notice to this distance learning initiative. But there's a few other really important groups to thank. First is the First Selectman's Office and all the town officials who have been very cooperative with the schools during this unusual effort. We also have had exceptional cooperation not only from the Trumbull Town Health Department, but from the Trumbull Public Library. You will see we have posted in our recent letter some information on resources that they have available, and we'll continue to partner with them in upcoming weeks. And I also want to thank our Trumbull Public Schools staff. We have over 650 certified teachers and administrators. They work in some unique situations every day and some unique assignments. And each and every one of them is committed to making this work for each and every child of the Trumbull Public Schools. So I hope you'll be patient with us as we make this initiative work to the highest degree possible. It will take us a little bit of time, but we are committed to your child's success over the next days and weeks, however long school needs to be closed. Do not hesitate to reach out at any time, and Christina and I hope to be back with you on Friday for some updates at that time. Anything you want covered in that broadcast that we didn't cover today, shoot us an email and we'll take care of it. Thank you very much.